Good morning and welcome back to another edition of Bernal Connect. Tracy, how are you?
I'm great. For some reason we're experiencing this heat wave. It feels like we're either in the middle of summer or something's going on and we're just really enjoying the weather. It also means kind of sweaty nights. It's been very, very warm in the evening and but I'll take it. I will take it for this great weather. How about you, Mike? What's going on?
Well, I am currently about nine hours ahead of you, so over in Europe, and we were on a little holiday, having a good time. Usually at this point, I'm asking you who our guest is, but it's a familiar face, so we all know Kevin. Kevin, how are you?
I'm great. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Tracy, why don't you tell us a little bit about why we invited Kevin this week? You know,
I met Kevin a few years ago at one of my open houses, and then I started just seeing him at different open houses in Bernal, and we just got to talking, and I discovered that Kevin not only lives in Bernal, he's an architect, and so it's just very fascinating topic for me since I'm a realtor, and so I started pinging him with questions. I think Kevin, we met, was it prior to COVID or just after, something like
It
that?
was it was before COVID because I just remember it felt like living free back then. No face masks at the open houses. There were open houses, and it was like, yeah, I can just remember the sort of vibe of the house that we met at and all that. I was like, that was definitely pre-COVID.
Yeah, definitely. It was a great house too. And so through the years we've kept in touch. I ping him questions. I also ping him share clients whenever they have a question, I always say talk to Kevin because he knows everything related to architecture in San Francisco.
Not everything, not everything.
Okay. Yours
Enough to
also
give an
learned a
opinion
lot.
whether it's a good one
A
or
lot.
not. Yeah.
And Kevin and I did a profile a couple months back. I know that I continually run it into him on Cortland and try to drag him into the tequila tastings. I think you've resisted so far, have you not?
Yeah, I think I did. It sounded fun, but I was like, this doesn't fit into the plan today, but like maybe I should. But I think I had a baby too.
Yeah,
Like I think I had my baby with me, so I was
you're gonna
like,
use
maybe.
that as an excuse.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but
great.
we will get you in we will get you in the tequila tasting soon enough. So,
Yeah.
so
Do they
Kevin,
do
tell
that
us a little bit about
regularly?
yourself and like tell us your Bernal story.
Yeah, sure. So, my wife Katie and I moved here in 2019. We bought a house and it was like not really something that we planned or anything. We kind of ended up here. We were living in the Mission, but sort of the north part of the Mission where it gets to like kind of Market and Hayes Valley. And that was like a really, I don't even know if you call it a transitioning neighborhood. Like it was pretty intense on a day to day with the sort of what was going on with homelessness and other things on the streets. And we had lived in a great loft that we renovated, but we just decided it was kind of time to move out of there. And so we didn't know where we were looking to move. We didn't know what we were looking to move into, but we kind of found this house in Bernal and we're just kind of like, it was a good opportunity. Didn't know much about the neighborhood, literally came to the open house and then went over to Los Altos to get like tacos afterwards and talk. And sitting in Los Altos, there was like this sort of thing where it just felt like very normal in the best way. Where, the Mission, I love the Mission, but everything's kind of trendy and restaurants are always kind of churning and it's like a younger vibe. When we got to Los Altos, I was like, oh my God, there's like older people here and there's like little families here and it's just like very sort of like grounding and normal. And I think we were like, this is kind of the neighborhood sort of feeling that we were looking for and didn't even really know it. And so yeah, and so then we bought our house 2019 and we've been here, which I can't believe it's been like 7 years, but like I mean, I guess I'm getting older too, but time is just going. And so, yeah, so we've been here for that amount of time now. And, now we have a baby. She's like 16 months old. And so now we feel like really rooted here. Yeah, I've been practicing architecture since, I mean, I guess since I was in college. And since then, I've had my own practice since about 2017 or 2018. It's just me. It's small scale. It's residential work. I do, yeah, remodels, I do additions, no new construction, but we've been talking about some stuff. And I love doing residential projects. I've sort of focused on that. I've done a lot of other work throughout my career, and it always felt like beating around the bush. Like I feel like all I really wanted to do was houses. And so now I really focus on houses. I do work around Bernal. I love working around Bernal because I love the just the scale of it. Even in like planning code, it sort of has this is like a special use district, meaning it has like special characteristics that need to be preserved. And really it comes from the fact that our lots are small, and so it makes our sort of houses kind of smaller as well. And I think it gives it this sort of like village feel that is just not replicated anywhere else that I've seen in the city. So yeah, I love the sort of small kind of nooks and crannies vibes of these houses. And so yeah, that's kind of my story. Yeah, that's my story.
So is the limitation that you have to respect the original footprint?
No, it's not so much that. So, yeah, without getting too technical of what it is, it sort of is like, in a sense, it's sort of you have to maintain a smaller scale. So, like, with like single family zoning or like two family zoning, which is like most of the neighborhood and is most of San Francisco, to be honest. It allows a building of a certain size, but
Mhm.
the special use district here kind of makes you make it a little smaller. Like it sort of cuts that down a little bit more, because it recognizes that if you were to build like a big blocky house here, it just would be out of character with the neighborhood. So it doesn't specify, what you can like what your house looks like. It can be, traditional or modern or a combination of that. You can kind of do anything with architecture. You can do things with the footprint, as long as they stayed within this sort of scaled back um, sort of regulation. And when I think of building in the city too, it's all about constraints. Like we're always up against someone else's house or up against lot lines or preserving light or views or all kinds of things. And it really is like a puzzle of constraints. So this sort of Bernal special use district adds another sort of layer to that I kind of like I'm not afraid of constraints. If anything, as a designer, they give me a roadmap of how to design. So,
What's interesting, and I think this came out in the last week or so, and I don't quite remember which supervisor did this, but one of the supervisors is proposing eliminating shadowing as a
interesting.
permit restraint.
Yeah, it's shadowing is an interesting thing because in my projects, single family homes, I haven't really run up too much against it. I know in certain neighborhoods, like like in Noe Valley, where it's a bit more affluent, neighbors will really push back as hard as they can to kind of prevent development from happening. I've seen it happen. It's unfortunate, but it's kind of like part of the dance, so you kind of have to do it. Um, but like shadowing in sort of our scale and what I've seen in our neighborhood, I haven't really seen it come up. Where I have seen it come up is with larger developments. So like downtown or maybe even Mission Bay, where you have like if you were to build a large building, it could shadow a park all day. But I think that the problem with a lot of some of these constraints is that people will kind of weaponize them to sort of prevent development from happening. And that can be a bad thing too. Obviously, you don't want like a park that's in shadow all day, but like we also need houses and we need things. So there's always this kind of push and pull. And I think that is the reality of working in the city. And that's sort of, I think that is the constraint that I do like.
And,
What
and
kind
what
of
is
trends are you
unique?
seeing?
Go ahead,
Go
Tracy.
ahead.
Sorry.
Let's go. What kind of trends are you seeing, Kevin, now in Bernal with when you're doing projects? Like, are they leaning more towards let's preserve what was here, let's do super modern, something transitional? Like, yeah, what kind of trends are you noticing?
It's a good question because, there's not really like a one size fits all answer. Um, Depends on the client. I've seen from my projects, we're staying within the envelope, staying within the existing building, and we're trying to make that work. Ground floor build outs, some of that kind of stuff. Those are sometimes hard because you don't necessarily get great light in, but you can get like garden connection. So that can be a really strong project. Um, addition stuff, so pushing out and whatnot, there's some of that, but I think it's almost more like I guess I could answer from my own experience as an architect. Like the work that I do is like very I don't want to say it's like very modern, but I do modern design. Like I don't sort of do like traditional design. I don't sort of like work in a lot of different design styles. The way that I think about my practice is that it's sort of like a practice of evolving ideas. And so when I am talking to clients and when we're kind of interviewing each other for the project to see if it's a good fit, I'm looking at sort of specific things like that they're talking about, that ideas that I'm also interested in exploring. And so what I find is like that is sort of the kind of products that I end up taking on. So for instance, I have a client that I've been working with for a little, just shortly, and they're kind of up the hill from me. And they had this kind of beautiful house that was very mid-century modern, but not really like in the way that you'd see in magazines. It just was like built in that sort of low ceiling, but like nice glass kind of view kind of style. And they've done a great job of doing interior decor, like a lot of beautiful walnuts and greens and plantings, and they have this beautiful garden they built out. Those are things that I really like because I can sort of take that material palette, that sort of design language, and then interpret it in sort of like, what it is that we're doing for their house, whether it's a kitchen or some sort of other renovation stuff. So I guess to answer your question, Tracy, it sort of is like, it's like people are doing everything, and it just depends on what their sort of, personal preferences of what they like to do. But for me, when I'm selecting clients, it's really about finding a common ground of ideas that we're excited about exploring together. And then those are the clients that I'm going to sort of really get excited about working with.
Having seen your website and seen some of your projects, I know that you like to incorporate the garden into the space. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's been like a big one for me lately. And what's been nice about that is that newer projects that I've started to work on, the garden component is an integral part of the design. So it's not so much like, oh yeah, there's a garden out there and one day we'll address that. It's like, no, no, there is a real budget at the beginning to do renovation work at the garden because we're going to tie these garden spaces into the house itself. And so it's like the garden is influencing the home design and the home design is kind of influencing the garden. So, you know, kind of zooming out, the way that I think about it is like we live in like one of the most amazing climates on the planet. This isn't LA, so it's not like full glass open all day long and it's just super indoor outdoor. But like in these gardens, we can grow everything that you can grow in the Mediterranean. And then you can grow everything that you can grow in like the Cape Province in South Africa, which has amazing plantings. And then the other Mediterranean regions in the world, as well as all the stuff from like Northern California and like so it's just like the ability to grow plants here is just like mind blowing. And so when I think about interior spaces, I often think about corresponding exterior spaces, and I've been calling them garden rooms. And so there's sort of like if we have like a living room that then opens up to the garden, it's like a garden living room, or maybe it's like a garden dining room. And so it sort of is like it creates this a bit more of like a seamless sort of experience of moving from the inside to the outside. And I think a lot of this came about because the garden was like a utility space. In a lot of old buildings, is what I see. It's like concrete. They've just kind of put concrete down, maybe built like a storage shed, and there's some plantings, but it sort of has been this utility space. I think it's like houses were cold in the Victorian era, and we kind of like boxed ourselves in them to try to stay warm. I guess it was cold outside, so we stay warm inside. And so going to the garden wasn't this sort of like nice extension of the living space, but now we have like insulated glass, and we have like the ability to insulate our buildings and the ability to kind of have more openness to the garden. And so I'm finding that it's like this sort of like corresponding garden living is a priority for a lot of people. It's also something that, again, I look for in clients. Like, if there's not a sort of a garden aspect, and that can even be like a deck that we want to like have like a nice potted garden, but it's like we want to have that experience because this is like one of the joys of living here.
Yeah, one of the interesting things, like our home, I want to say our home was either built in the 30s or the 40s, but we have the back room off the house, which was essentially the washroom. And then, we had the giant cement, you know, foundation in the corner of the yard for where the pole went so that you ran the laundry.
Yeah.
And like every house on the block had this. And it was when we moved into the house, like, it took me about 5 years to like dig up that giant cement. Like it was huge. But like,
Yeah.
the backyard was not an outdoor space. It was a function. Like that's where you hung your laundry. And
Yes.
and it was designed for function.
Yeah. And so a funny anecdote, a lot sometimes like the concrete, I heard this that a lot of people sometimes the concrete is super strong. I don't know if you ran into that. Was it like
Oh my
really
God, it took
intense?
me 5 years. Like it was
Okay.
a ongoing project to
You
dig this thing
yourself,
in.
Mike?
Yeah, yeah, no, I did, yes, but like
Yeah.
it was like 6 feet wide. Like it was a
Yeah.
big round circle, but like 6 feet. It was huge.
Yeah, so apparently a lot of guys that would like so this is like, it used to be like I mean, it's I think the neighborhood's gone through a lot of things, but there's like a lot of sort of like working class or like contractor types that have bought small houses here and
Sure.
have lived here for a long time. And I think that's been a sort of part of the neighborhood for a while, but apparently I don't know when, 70s, 80s, something like that. They're like guys that would work for the city, I guess, pouring concrete for I don't know if it's sidewalks or whatever. This concrete was super strong, like extra, extra strong, like 3 and 4 times stronger than regular concrete. After they would sort of run their load, they would have a little extra, and their friend would be like, "Hey, I need a pour thing at my house." They'd be like, "Yeah, I'll swing by and just pour it for you,
Yeah,
just to get rid of the concrete." So you find sometimes this high strength concrete in like your backyard. It's impossible to get through.
yeah, it was killer. Like I said, it took
Yeah.
me a couple of years to get just breaking it apart and finally getting it out.
Yeah, getting it out's like the other thing. I did a lot of that in my backyard. I thought it was fun, and I was like, it's sunny out and it's COVID, and like I'm out here getting some exercise and stuff. And so I was like, you know what? There's worse ways to spend the afternoon.
We spent like the first, or I did, like I spent the first 2 years digging up stuff out of my yard. Like, because the previous tenant, like that's where they threw things like bottles, spoons, like,
Yeah,
like seriously for like 2 years, stuff just kept coming up out of the ground. Like,
same for my house
why?
too. Just broken broken bottles, bro. I'm like, who? This was like trash, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
So, I
out there
mean, the
with
backyards have
constantly.
changed in Bernal considerably.
Yeah, they've changed. I mean, again, talk to some people that have been in the city for a long time, and even it sounds like the weather is changing, like climate change or whatever, saying just like a lot less sort of foggier days. So it's like, I think these sunny days are also, I mean, like today's a great example where, yeah, we're kind of getting drawn outside more. Work from home is another one. Like, I remember when Katie and I, when we were doing like early work from home, we could work in the garden. Like the Wi-Fi extends out there, and so we're like in the garden all day, just like at the dining table. It's like so dreamy.
What are some of the constraints that you're facing working in Bernal? I mean, our sewer system isn't the best. Like, how does
Ooh.
that impact what you're working on, or it doesn't?
Sewer system doesn't really impact me. I know like my neighbors had an issue with like their sort of main trap getting clogged up. Um, but that stuff doesn't really affect the architecture. I don't really have a lot of. I mean, when we do like a whole house renovation, like we're gonna snake the main line because you just want to see the condition and you want to know when you're doing a large amount of work, you're like, well, we might as well have like a good strong main line. A lot of them do need replacing. You find roots have broken into them and stuff.
Because you're
Um,
probably adding bathrooms and stuff like that. So there's,
yeah, you do add load. If you think about it, unless you're flushing all the toilets at once, it's still sort of like, it's still like the same amount of sort of load over time. But yeah, that one doesn't really, I mean, I think there's some Bernal specific constraints. Really, it's like, I think it's just again goes back to the sort of smaller nature of our neighborhood. Like most lots are 25 by 70. And so most lots in the city are 25 by 100. So
Mhm.
that's, 25% larger. And then in Noe, a lot of the lots are 20 or are 25 by
125.
120,
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
extra long. So and so again, I think it's just sort of like this sort of smaller thing where it's like, you might walk out your back deck and your neighbor's deck is right there too. So all of a sudden you're sort of like, how do we address that? Like, do we have sort of like a planting screen? Do we like the neighbor and we actually kind of like interacting with them like that? So, even like when I go out on my back deck, I can see like 3 or 4 neighbors' houses and I've had some nice trees that have enough of a sort of blocking it. But I like love hearing neighbors out on the phone or talking to someone. I can hear the playground. So I feel like it's like we're kind of connected in this way that feels like very kind of neighborly. And so yeah, maybe a sort of answer to your question is like respecting that through the design too. There's really subtle ways to do it. When Katie and I were designing the front yard of our house, I was very adamant that again, I was like, this needs to be a garden experience. And I was like, and a garden experience on multiple fronts. First of all, I do want privacy. Like I don't want people just walking into my front yard. And there needs to be some kind of barrier. So we built these planters that are like, 2 or 3 feet high. But then I was like, I want to have like sort of like a scented garden so people can walk through. So now I have lavender in there, I've got flowers, and I've got rosemary. So like come by and pick a sprig off, or just I walk by it and rub it all over my shirt so I smell like lavender. These little ways of kind of giving to the neighborhood and making it nice, even with like the way you enter a house, you enter through a garden and you go up a stair. I was thinking about the Amazon guy. I'm like, he's coming like 3 or 4 times a day. Might as well give him like a nice garden to walk through. And so I like to think that he
So
enjoys.
thoughtful, Kevin. My
Well,
goodness.
Yeah, because I'm
I
sure he spent a lot of time like, oh, look, lavender.
yeah, I mean, I hope he enjoys it. It's sort of a thing where it's like, I hope it's welcoming. And so. It's like I think there's like these ways where you kind of can use design to sort of serve your needs and what you need as a family and how your house needs to function, but then also thinking about all of the experience of all of the people that will come here. One thing I was thinking about this when we were building the house, especially, was like um, this idea of being like stewards of a home as opposed to being owners. So when you're an owner, you kind of are like, I own this, it's mine, blah, blah, blah. And there's like this sort of possessive nature. And I'm the sort of like, I understand that. That's the way that we're all kind of wired. But I almost like to think about this as like what if I'm just a steward of this home for a period of time? Because like many people have owned this home before me and have lived here. I had to do a whole research project to prove that the house wasn't historic. I had to go through and figure out everyone that had ever lived here. The list is like 30 or 40 people long. Start to make you think, wow, like this place has seen many, many lives that, I can't even imagine the activity that happened here, but like it has lived many lives. And then thinking about that in the future, I'm like, well, I'll be gone one day, whether I move or whether I die here. Like, and many more people will continue to live here. So actually, like, my place is just this place in time where I'm just kind of like putting my mark on it and shepherding it through a transition and through a life, and sort of like it will become someone else's one day. So there's like sort of a nice like almost Buddhist of like letting go in thinking about a home like that too.
50 to 100 years from now, everything that we own will belong to other people. Well, if it hasn't degraded already, there will be other families or other folks living in our homes. And to your point, Kevin, we are kind of just stewards to take good
Yeah.
care of this.
Yeah. We're like, someone told me this, they were like, if you think about it, you're living inside of everyone else's dream. Like everything around you, like this plate and this table and like that little baby swing, these were all made by someone who came up with an idea somewhere and decided to like go ahead and make it and then like, put it on the internet to sell it or sold it, whatever. You're like literally surrounded by thousands and thousands of different people's dreams all the time, which is like a cool way of thinking about it.
Mhm.
So, Kevin, this is the part where we transition, where we talk about the neighborhood, and we ask you, so what are your favorite hangouts?
It's a great question. So, I love holy water. I feel like we talked about this before. I just feel like
Yeah, we might have
there's
mentioned in
something.
the article, that's fine.
The what?
Well,
I
I
said we
see
might have talked
every
about it in the
other
article, but we'll go
day,
there
Kevin,
anyway.
on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah. I love holy water. Yeah. You cannot take babies. We often go there before we pick Poppy up from school and we bring the cart in. And they're always like, is there a baby in that cart? We're like, guys, we know the rules. No babies. We're just here to drink. So yeah, I love holy water. I was also thinking about Barbarella, the hair salon. I'm getting my haircut this week. Sid is amazing. And if anyone like, needs to get their haircut, I adore Sid. Her and I are just like buds. And she does a great job. And so that's like across the street from Holy Water. So not so much a hangout, but I just like she's got like a corner glass, and so I'm always just like waving and saying what's up when I walk by.
What's funny
Um,
is I talked to John, and I think he specifically brought you up about the babies in the bar.
oh, did he?
No,
I've
but
never brought her into that bar.
no, but what's funny is like that came up in my interview with John, and he's like, I don't know why, but people keep trying to bring their kids in here, and he's like, no
You
babies
know,
in the bar.
I I learned the lesson at Wild Side West because
Oh
we
yeah.
walked in with my niece and they were like, "No way." And we were like, "She's a baby." And they were like, "It's 21 and up." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, she's not wrong."
We actually have the tequila store because we do the tastings, and like people will bring their kids in. I'm like, you can't bring a baby to a tasting. Like,
Yeah,
like that should be common sense, right?
yeah, yeah. I like that people think that you can though. They're like, whatever, it's just neighborhoody and like, what's the big deal, you know?
We had one where, so they came, it was a young couple. They came in with the baby, and we said, no, you can't do that. Then they proceeded to have an argument about which one of them was going to go drink,
That's amazing. Yeah,
like who was going to get stuck with the kid.
yeah. Maybe just like take turns, stand
Yeah, I
outside
was
the
like,
dog
wow, that's just
carrier.
okay.
That sounds like me with our dog. I'm always trying to figure out a way to sneak him in, but yes, you shouldn't bring
But
your
see, John
dog.
will let the dog in. He just won't let you bring your kid in.
Yeah. I'm like, I mean, we have a dog too, so I'm like pro dog everywhere. But I also get it because some dogs aren't as well behaved and then they kind of ruin it for everyone. And
But I think
so,
bare bottle, you can't bring your dog, but you can bring your kid. So like,
yeah, I feel like I've brought Monster there, but it become, I think what's funny with like the dog, like dog owners is like we all of a sudden, we all know where you can take the dog. So then it becomes like a dog park. And then it's like, and my dog, he'll fight big dogs. He's like a small dog, but he'll if he feels like confined, he'll go for it. And we're like, all right, this is not it's not the move. So yeah.
Yeah, we have one dog that like clearly is not like, meant to go socialize at bars. And like it's like
Yeah.
the
Which
drama
is
is just
good.
not worth it.
If you know it, like I mean, that's the sort of thing with the dog owner, like we have to take a lot of responsibility for these dogs, like whether we've done training or whether like some dogs just aren't fit for like social prime time. And it's good to know that because then it's just like, yeah, it's probably less pleasant for them to go out and be at the bar and having a bad time. They'd rather just sit at home. So it's like you just got to know what your dog's like, what they're capable of. We fly with our dog a lot, and he's gotten to be pretty good at that. And it's funny because we'll take him and the baby, and then people will be like, "Oh my God, your dog's so cute." And then they're like, "Oh, there's a baby here too." And it's we're always like, I think it's
Dog
pretty funny.
first.
Dog first, yeah, like yeah. So he is cute. So it's like clearly,
It's it's true.
yeah.
And what about restaurants?
Restaurants, I mean, yeah, so for me, I mean like Newt's is like the perfect spot. I just think it's like there's that concept that Hygge or Higgy, it's like a Scandinavian concept. I think IKEA has kind of been pumping it lately, but it's this idea of feeling just like really warm and cozy. It's that feeling. And I think like a lot of times you try to capture that in a house, but like Newt's captures that in like a restaurant. It's just like warm and cozy. I think the ramen is so kind of like soul nourishing and delicious. And it's just like quaint and it's just perfectly small. I've always had a great time. I just think it's like the perfect like neighborhood spot. And it's also just like I find that I think I probably had everything on the menu, but like as I was exploring the menu, it's like, well, everything is really good, like very good. So that's definitely like a number one. It's also within like baby monitor distance, and so is Shokudao, which I love too. If I could pick a sushi restaurant to be like at the corner of my road, it would be Shokudao. I just think it's such a great restaurant, and so that's also baby monitor distance. So Katie and I will put Poppy down and then wait like 10 minutes, and she seems all good, and we'll go have dinner over there. So that's kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tracy, what's going on in the neighborhood? What events are coming up?
Well, not necessarily locally, but this past Sunday was Beta Breakers. So if anyone went out for that, weather was phenomenal. And, it's just always like a very fun very San Francisco specific
Yeah.
event that we have. Obviously, over the years when I was younger, we did lots of other types of activities now with the family. It feels a little different this year. We're going out finding other families, but it's still fun. And thankfully, this year, weather was really great. And then, of course, we've got Taste of Bernal coming up May 28th. Unfortunately, all the tickets for seniors and youth tickets have been sold out. But if you're in the mid-range, 18 to 65 years old, the general admission tickets are still available. So, highly recommend going online and buying those tickets now because they will likely run out just like they did last year.
That's awesome. So that's like, yeah, can you explain a little bit about it? I didn't go last year, so I don't know much about it.
Yeah, so there's some projects at the Good Prospect Garden, and we being green projects, are working on the community garden on the other side of the pathway as you're heading up towards Santa Marina. But what the Taste of Bernal is doing is they have some artwork that it's actually a mosaic by Colette Crutcher that they want to install and to add some art aspects to the park. So Taste of Bernal is to raise funds to benefit that. So if you want to support art and support art in the community, Taste of Bernal is a good place to do that.
And then Mike, you guys did the like the sort of planting that's right outside the library.
We did do that,
Yeah,
yes.
that's what it's such a great like little contained install. It's so pretty.
So what that was is that was an effort to do some street calming, right? So we obviously had unfortunately had a death last year on the corridor.
Mm.
Anybody who's ever experienced Cortland knows that, like people don't stop. They run, they speed down the corridor. So, what we're looking to do is to add some and then there's visibility issues, right? So about 2 years ago, the state passed the daylighting laws where we now have the 20 feet of red curb so that there's greater visibility. Unfortunately, even with the red curbs, people are still parking in those areas and not respecting that. So, what we've realized is we actually have to put in permanent structures such as, plants and seating and stuff so that people respect the red zones because what we're trying to do is increase the daylighting or the visibility. That particular spot is at the corner of Cortland and Moultrie. And as you come up Moultrie, it really is difficult if someone's parked there to see the oncoming traffic or to see pedestrians. So the plan is to do about 7 or 8 of those along Cortland.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
So there'll be a combination of sort of those little pop-up parks as well as some on the street murals. And they're all designed for traffic calming and getting people to slow down and increase visibility on the corridor. So if you like that one, tell your supervisor, tell anybody at City Hall, because we obviously want to go back and get the permits to do some more and continue to do more visibility and more daylighting on Cortland for that purpose.
Is it like difficult to get permits and get something like that like up and going?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of
I,
what I wonder. Like it feels like those should be on every daylighting bulb. Like why not? But I would imagine that getting that from zero to installed is like probably way more
Yeah,
intense.
the challenge is that we are a transportation corridor. The 24 runs up and down. So you have to work primarily with SFMTA because if what you're trying to do is make it to slow down traffic, but then you don't want to restrict the bus or you don't want to move the bus. So you have to make sure that these spots also work for SFMTA so that you're not impeding the bus line.
Okay.
So that's a big factor in looking at these to make sure that the transportation, isn't impacted. We don't want to slow down the bus. We don't want to reroute the bus. We don't want to push the bus into oncoming traffic. So,
Hmm.
the primary issue is working with SFMTA to make sure that everybody's happy.
Okay. Yeah. So it's like an agency approval thing, but it is just purely
Multiple
like
agency approval, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But
Okay.
we've gotten really great support out of our supervisor's office. They love it. The community has embraced it. They're happy with it. We had to tweak it a little bit. When we first put it up, we had to make some changes to increase some visibility.
Mm.
But we're learning as we do that, and we hope to continue that and increase the safety on Cortland.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing more of them though, because that is just like it's such a, special little moment on the street that like as soon as it went up, I knew it was you, and then I saw like the sign or part, and I was like, oh yeah, this definitely has your like footprint. But it's
Yeah,
just like, simple and pretty, and I love that. So
yeah, we're excited by that.
yeah.
Anything else, Tracy, calendar wise, or anything else coming up that you can think of?
no, nothing in Bernal that I can think of, but maybe Mike, what's on our calendar? I'm
I
trying
mean,
to
some of
website.
the things that we have coming up that sort of come to mind is we have, and I believe it's the 13th of June, and check the calendar because, even though I put it on the calendar, I don't always remember. We have the Pride Family Picnic, which will be on Ogden Avenue. This will be our second Pride Family Picnic, and it's just an opportunity to celebrate Pride in a family environment. Last year and this year we'll do it again. We had the library come out and do a story time. We had a DJ. It's an afternoon event. It's very family friendly, and intentionally very family friendly. So that I believe is June 13th. It's a Saturday. Double check the calendar.
We'll be
I
there.
know that July 11th is the First Lady's general support and cleanup of the city. So there is a cleanup on July 11th that will be citywide that is being um, worked and promoted through Rebecca's office. So she'll be doing that. So we'll have some of those efforts here in Bernal, specifically at the Tompkins Stairway. So July 11th, look for a citywide cleanup with the mayor's wife. So that'll be fun. We have a coffee date on the plaza and the Bernal Heights Rec Center Plaza, which we have on the first Saturday of the month. On June 6th, we will once again be joined by the library. There'll be a story time. Some folks came out last month and we did the chalk coloring on the outline, and people really enjoyed that. So they'll come back out, have some coffee, have, a pastry, and then listen to story time. So,
Love
um,
it.
yeah, so we got plenty going on. We always have tastings at the tequila shop on Fridays and Saturday nights. We have stuff going up and down the corridor. I don't know the date of this, but it's in the next week or so. But I know that there's queer speed dating at the barb shop.
Hmm.
So if you're interested in that, check the calendar. Again, I don't have that particular date off the top of my head, but I know there's going to be some queer speed dating at the barb shop with Roe. So that'll be fun. It's Bernal. We get it
Fun.
all.
Fun, yeah. Cool.
So if you're single and want to mingle, head out to the
Yeah,
barb shop.
exactly. I'm gonna promote it on my page too. That sounds totally fun.
Yeah.
There's always plenty on the calendar. We have some, obviously we have a lot of recurring events. We have chess at Bear Bottle Monday nights. Then it moves to Progressive Grounds on Saturdays. We have music at the Lucky Horseshoe. We have jazz at Progressive Grounds on, I think, every other Sunday. So there's a lot of recurring events. Steph has some puppy classes every Saturday morning at Bourbon Beast. So there's always plenty to do, stuff that's recurring and stuff that's just, sort of these one-off events like speed dating. So check the calendar. There's plenty to do. There's always fun. We'll be out there planting more, planters on the corridor. Lots of fun stuff going on. Kevin, we appreciate you joining us this morning and sharing a little bit about what you do.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
They can find me walking up and down Cortland. I'm usually out there getting coffee, but more formally online. It's my office is called Tiny Monster Design. Monster's my dog, and he's tiny, so that's where the name came from.
Very cute.
It's he's cute, yeah. So is Pocket. Pocket is Tracy's dog. It's tinymonster.design is my website. It's got all my contact stuff there. So, um, yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I'll plug one event that's like an unofficial event, but on Saturdays at 10 a.m. we do what we call Bernal Heights Football Club. It's like soccer, and basically like 1 year
It's
olds,
like
2 year olds.
soccer or it is soccer?
Well, it's called football club, but it's like soccer, so it's like I don't want to. This isn't like American football. Like no
Okay.
babies are tackling each other. I guess
That's very
slide
European
tackling.
of you.
Very
Football.
European.
Yeah, I didn't name it, but yeah. But anyway, Bernal Heights Football Club, babies. We just meet at the baseball field at Holly Park, and sometimes if they're playing baseball or doing things there, there's dogs. We go somewhere else in Holly, but usually 10 a.m.s on Saturday mornings, and it's not official. It's mostly like adults kicking the ball around and just drinking coffee and chatting it up. So if you need to take your baby somewhere at 10 a.m. Saturdays, we're usually there.
Cool. Tracy, what about you? What do you have coming up? Anything good?
Well, actually, I just heard about a football club, so I'll
Yeah,
be
on
we'll
Saturday.
be there Saturday. Usually on Saturday mornings we're out at the farmers market pretty early on, and try to take advantage of it because we live so close. But we'll head over to visit Kevin right after that. So that was it for
Cool.
me.
Cool. Well, we appreciate everybody listening, joining. If you like what you're hearing, give us a like, give us a share, tell your neighbors, tell three other people because that would double our audience. So, again, Tracy laughing, but she knows it's true. So again, Kevin, thank you for joining us. We look
Thanks for
forward to
having me,
seeing you
guys.
guys
Yeah,
next week and check out Tiny Homes Design, Tiny Monster
Tiny
Design.
Monster
Tiny
Design. Yeah,
Monster Design.
Tiny
And
Monster.
of
There you
course,
go.
if you need a real estate agent, Tracy is your go-to source. I'm out of here. Guys, take care.
See ya.